So here's our tier list for all the games I streamed in 2021 and 2022. And we're going to continue by adding the games from 2023. And 2023 is going to be the biggest one because this is where I really hit my stride in terms of streaming volume. So again, for reference, in 2021, I played about 15 games on stream, or Let's Plays. In 2022, I did about 23 games. In 2023, I did almost 40 games. And that's not counting some of the games that I bundled together. Like, for example, Layers of Fear is technically like 2.5 games of its own. Or, which other ones did I split? No, I think that's about it. So, there's a lot of stuff here that's, oh yeah, or the Jackbox games, for example, I counted as one. But we really hit our stride in 2023. I was streaming more often. I wanted to try playing more, like, short games. I was more comfortable with taking those games and editing the VODs down and splitting them, because I had a better computer by now. Let's start going through these games. Which game took the longest to complete? Out of all the ones I streamed so far, Xenoblade 3 was like 130 hours or something like that. It might even be longer now that we have Future Redeemed on it. Even like the base story of Xenoblade 3 was like 90 hours. Oh no, you're right. Well, Umineko's special because Umineko, if I combine both of them together, it was the longest. But if I split them into two separate games, they're not as long as Xenoblade 3. So it depends on if you talk about them collectively or not. So I guess the answer depends on what you consider. So Umineko altogether was the longest series we did. Xenoblade 3 would be the second one, but it'd be longer than either of the Uminekos individually. Well, thanks for the stretch, Ditzinol. I appreciate it. If we ever get around to streaming Persona 5 Royal, though, that one's gonna take the cake by a long margin, I feel. Yeah, the paradox of game lengths, right? Even if I go and do like a full story playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV, I don't think it's gonna reach as long as those ones either. Although out of all the games here, the one that I've spent the most time on, like just in general, is of course FF14. Okay, there's a lot of games to unpack here, so let's do the ones that are easiest to place. Hey Bonnie, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by today. It's good to see you. Okay. Which ones are easy to place? Spider-Man 2, easily one of my favorite games of all time. It's just fantastic. It's fantastic. I think it goes up here. It just blew me away how cinematically beautiful this game was. The boss fights were really fun. It improved on everything from Spider-Man 1. The way they used a lot of the characters was very unique in that they took a little spin on them that was a little bit different from like the comic books. Like, we take this character and we put a little bit of a unique spin on them so you still recognize them and they still do everything in character, but in a new way that's something you wouldn't expect. Battle system was just really fun. Spider-Man 2. A lot of customization, a lot of great storyline things. The side quests were fun. I just had so much fun with Spider-Man 2. And you guys saw, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan as well, how giddy I was on stream the whole time we were doing Spider-Man 2 was just insane. Spider-Man 1 was a good game, but it didn't blow me away quite the same. I think Spider-Man 1 is still better than Spider-Man Miles Morales, because Miles Morales is a short, bundled experience, right? Now, does Spider-Man 1 go into the S tier is the question. And I think it's a good game. And the battle system is really fun. Going back and playing it, especially with all the DLC, was a lot of fun. And also the ending was really emotional. So, but does it belong in an S tier? I think given the extent of the power of all these games up here in the S tier, I'm not sure if Spider-Man 1 matches up quite that high. But I think the biggest thing holding Spider-Man 1 back was the boss fights were not especially difficult. Like, Spider-Man 2 really ups the ante with the boss fights. They're cinematic. This one, the boss fights were just not quite there yet. They were still learning how to do it. So I think I might bump it up to S later. I think for now, I'm going to keep Spider-Man 1 in an A+. Where? What's easy to place? Let's do all the party games. Let's do all the party games. Where should we go? Jackbox Party Pack, I think. Of course, it's kind of unfair to be breaking them up into separate party packs because they're all different, but I put them all together. I think they're fun because you can play them with friends and you can play them with the audience as well. So we can play them with the Twitch audience, but we can also play them with our friends. That's an incredibly powerful thing to do. And there's so much variety now. I know it's a little bit unfair to count them all as one thing. So, but like, when it comes to multiplayer fun on stream with other people, you can't really beat Jackbox Party Packs. Yeah, they're just so much fun. And you never know what you're gonna get, like, in terms of, like, the type of humor based on, like, random chance of what other people do. So I think, what other party games do I have here? KallaX was actually really fun. Building furniture in an overcooked style with Kieran. I think it would have been more fun if we had 4 people. I think I have to put it here because I don't think it's as good as Played Up. And I'll tell you the reason why is because with KallaX, when you go through the stages, you have to go through the stages in order. Well, with Played Up, it's like, oh, you choose your recipe, you choose your restaurant, and then you go. With KallaX, it's like, if you get stuck on one level, you're just stuck on that level. Like, that one level that me and Kieran were stuck on with the cat towers and the endless pillows gave us so much trouble, and we couldn't even put the game down and be like, oh, let's do something different, right? With Played Up, it's like, oh, this restaurant, we put ourselves in a really difficult position. Well, we could just restart with a different restaurant, right? So I think that's the main strength. The controls are a little bit wonky in KallaX, but I think that's on purpose. But there's a few parts about the controls I think they could have improved. But I think for the most part, that's kind of where we are sitting there. Hey, Melly, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for the raid. Hey, everyone. How are you all doing today? Accord, it's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. You guys, please go check out Melly. She's an amazing streamer. She's very, very pretty. She is an amazing singer. She's an amazing artist. She's really fun to listen to. She has a great sense of humor. You gotta make sure that you follow Melly because she's awesome and she'll make your day. So please, 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 please go check her out. How are you guys doing? You guys having a good time today? Did you have fun with Melly doing the hand can stream? Were you making photo cards, I believe? How'd that go? Hey Shio, welcome to the stream. Hakaze, I don't remember if I said hi to you earlier. I saw you in the chat, but I'm gonna say hi to you again anyways. Hi Hakaze. Oh, thanks for the sleeveless and the stretch, Sai. It was a successful stream. That's good to hear. Make a lot of cool photo cards. Hey Ninzoku, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by, everyone. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kiro, the frog-themed martial artist. Today, we are tier listing all the games I've played so far on stream, which is close to 80 games in total. So we are about halfway through, and we're moving on to the games from 2023. So great timing. Feel free to sit back and relax or go take care of yourself after your stream. I really appreciate it. And again, go check out Melly, because she's amazing. Okay, so I just ranked KallaX. Let's keep doing party games, because again, party games are kind of on their own tier, because I think it's unfair to judge them because we play them together multiplayer with people. Gang Beasts I actually had a lot of fun with. I don't think it's quite as good as... Actually, no, Gang Beasts was pretty fun. The only problem with Gang Beasts is that you have to play with online other people, and there's not as many people playing this game anymore, but it was quite fun. But I think there's something to be said about the organization of Played Up. At least in Played Up, you actually have a goal. In Gang Beasts, like, yeah, you have a goal like beating each other up and staying alive, but it's a little bit messier. But I think it's messy on purpose. It was a chaotic stream. It was so much fun, especially streaming with Remy. I think the problem with Gang Beasts, though, is that there's only really one thing to do. So even if you play the different game modes, it all bubbles down to the same thing. So if you play for too long, you kind of get... It's like, well, we've been doing the same thing for like too many hours now. Well, I feel like with Played Up, things are always a little different. So I think Gang Beasts is a little bit better than KallaX, only because of the unpredictability of it as well. KallaX is still pretty fun, though. It's just comparatively not quite as much. Mario Party. Let's put Mario Party. Is always a classic. I think the only thing that holds me back from Mario Party being as good as like Goose Goose Duck is because a lot of times I ask people to play Mario Party and it's like, oh, I don't have a Switch, or something like that. It's like it's harder to collab with other people, and you can only have 4 people. Now this Mario Party game has like all the best mini games and the boards from previous Mario Party games, but there's still only like 8 playable characters to choose from, which is a little sad. So, but I mean, Mario Party is a classic. You love Mario Party, and there's so many different mini games to do. I actually just like Goose Goose Duck because we can be a little bit silly with it, and you can have more people, and it's more accessible. Yeah, we played Mario Party on my birthday. That was fun. Okay, let's keep. Okay, where am I right now? Final Fantasy 16 was also a fantastic game. I think this one's also easily an S tier. Actually, this one really blew me away. Was it better than Great Ace Attorney though? Like, obviously, this one has a lot more like action stuff in it, so it's kind of hard to compare it to a game that's a little bit more like visual novel. But I think they did a really good job. Like, the music was good. The boss fights were really cinematic. You know, I almost want to put it above Basara. The only thing Basara has on edge over FF16 is Basara has like 50 playable characters that are all really fun. While FF16, you only play as Clive, which is, yeah, you can customize him, make him do a bunch of different things, but having like a variety of different characters to play is really beneficial. But also, FF16 has a more succinct storyline, while Basara is a little bit more like arcade style. That's hard. But the boss fights are really cinematic, though. They really blew me away, and they also really kept me on edge. So I think it has to go here. I think FF16 has to go here. Like, FF14, Spider-Man 2, and FF16 have all had boss fights that really got me tense. Xenoblade 3 had some at the beginning, but once you get the hang of the battle system in Xenoblade 3, the bosses stop surprising you. The first couple bosses you fight in Xenoblade 3 are really cinematic and really blow you away, and it's really tense. But then once you keep fighting, like, once you fight your, like, 26th Mobius person, it's like, yeah, it's just another one of these guys, right? The first one you fight is like, wow, this is really intimidating. The guy's gonna, destroy us, and they have really cool attacks. And then you're like, yeah, you're Mobius number 26? Yeah, get in line, buddy. Yeah, I love FF16's Titan boss fight. A lot of people think Bahamut is their favorite. I personally thought Titan was my favorite boss fight because it just kept going. I was like, are we done yet? Wait, there's another phase. Wait, are we done yet? There's another phase. Wait, are we done yet? There's another phase. So, yeah. I do miss having I do miss having many party members that you can play as in FF16, and I hope that going forward they do something more like FF16 like, but more like classic RPG sort of stuff. Yeah, definitely Titan and Bahamut. I was disappointed by the boss fights that came after that. It's hard to live up to that. Odin was pretty disappointing. But it was still good. Omega was fun, but it also didn't have a... I mean, I guess I shouldn't spoil stuff for people that haven't played it, but I'm looking forward to the next wave of DLC we're going to get for 16. Let's keep going. Well, here's another easy one. Raincode. I did not like Raincode that much, and I will explain why, because a lot of people like it a lot more, which is fine. But, like, Raincode was written by the same people. I mean, it's written and drawn and everything by the same people who did Danganronpa, and I love Danganronpa a lot. So I had a lot of expectations going into Raincode, and it did not live up to those expectations. I think the story wasn't really good. There were so many plot holes that were pretty big plot holes, I would say, too, not just little ones. The characters were not likable. Even the characters that I found most likable was only because they were more normal compared to the other ones. Like, even Halara, I liked them, but their character trait was basically, this person's smart and they want you to pay them for their services. Like, that's kind of it. The mysteries had a lot of potential, squandered it. A lot. Mystery labyrinths in general are flawed. You get all the clues before you go in, so then you can basically solve the mystery before going into the mystery labyrinth, or at least get 90% of it, so it isn't really a surprise. While with Ace Attorney and Danganronpa, usually you only get like half the clues before you go into the trial, and then a lot of stuff comes to light during the trial based on testimony. You can't do that with a mystery dungeon. Also, Shinigami, super annoying. Supposed to be your partner character for the entire game, but I mean, unless you like those types of characters, like she was derogatory towards you, she kept fat shaming people, she like basically at the end of the game, the entire moral of the story is that you should kind of depend on your friends a little bit more. But the entire game, she's making fun of you for depending on other people, right up until the very end, where she's like, "Yeah, so you learn to be dependable and with more people, right?" And I'm like, "But this entire game, you've been chiding me for doing that." Plus, the entire last chapter, you don't even have access to any of your other friends. So, yeah, it just really didn't hit it. I think if it's like baby's first mystery game, yeah, maybe you might enjoy this one, but like it just wasn't comparatively to other games out there like Ace Attorney and Danganronpa, completely doesn't live up to it. C tier for me, a lot of these games in C tier, I mean there's only 2 right now, is not it's not specifically that they're bad games, it's that they didn't live up to their potential. Like there was a lot of stuff that could have, like little things that could have really elevated it, and they didn't go for it. That's why these are not in like a D tier or an F tier. They're still functional as games. They still pass as games, but there's so much that could be better, and like small little tweaks too. So, yeah. Also, just like as like salt on the wound, my experience with Raincoat fans has been awful. Hey, Emily's Love, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me. Welcome, welcome. And as a little bit of backstory to this, like, to this day, my Raincoat VODs on YouTube are still some of my better performing videos every week. Every week, YouTube sends me like a summary and tells me which videos did the best that week. Almost every week, at least one Raincoat video ends up on that list, which is unfortunate because I wish that if I had a video that was being a little bit more popular, it'd be a game that I enjoyed. Now, on top of that, I always like when I don't get YouTube notifications that often. When I do, it's like if someone followed me and they have their follows on public, maybe I get a message, or if they leave a comment, which I don't get very many comments, except for from a couple select awesome people. But most of the time, when I get a comment from a stranger, it's almost always on a Raincoat video, and it's almost always rude. Like, not mean, not outright offensive, but it's like a rude comment, or it's a comment where it can be very easily taken in a negative connotation. And it's usually because someone would disagree with why I don't like Raincoat. They'd be like, well, you didn't like it because of this, well, you didn't think about this, and you contradicted yourself here, and then here's my explanation to your plot hole. Like, it's usually them trying to like one-up me on a reason why I don't like the game, which also makes me not want to like the game even more. And half the time their arguments either don't make sense or have nothing to do with what I'm saying, or it's an argument that I already have addressed in the video with some kind of like counter rebuttal already. And the thing about the people that comment on those VODs, which is really weird too, because the VODs are like anywhere from 3 to 5 hours long. Sometimes they would like timestamp something I said at like 3.5 hours just to like point it out and then say their rebuttal. And I'm like, so you actually watched 3.5 hours of this 5-hour VOD just to say that you don't like it. Like, go watch someone else. Like, I literally had someone comment on a video and say, I can't bear to watch your VODs on this anymore because you keep like making fun of the game and I don't like that. And I'm like, well, then go watch someone who enjoyed the game. You don't have to watch me. So, I don't know. I think that's just the nature of YouTube comments. It's just that I don't really have like a YouTube community. And so like the only people finding my videos might be like super fans of the game, and then they take offense when you don't like what they like. I think that's what's happening. So it's the same with Xenoblade 2, actually. I got a few people coming in, even on like stream, that were like, well, you keep making fun of this or pointing out this plot hole or saying you don't like this game mechanic, but you're actually doing it wrong because blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, then why are you here? Anyways, yeah, so it's like my experience with Raincoat fans has not been super great. And I know it's because Raincoat fans are usually Danganronpa fans. And as a former big Danganronpa fan, I know that Danganronpa fans are weird. So it's just that mentality. So yeah, Raincoat's down here. You can't change my mind. Bread and Fred was actually pretty fun with Kieran, but it is designed to be kind of like a rage game, right? And kind of like KallaX, it's like when you get somewhere that you get stuck, there's really nothing you could do. So it was fun. I think if you like getting over it, but you want to do it with someone else to suffer, it's pretty fun. But you got to go into it knowing that you're in for a tough time. So KallaX, at least, I think we got quite a bit of progress done. Bread and Fred was fun, but it is designed to be a difficult game. But it's very cute. And I think the game mechanics are actually pretty solid. And they give you a lot of like cheat devices, so in case you're not doing good, you can turn on the cheats, which is kind of nice, even if it's a little cheaty, but it is still it's a fun game. Okay, what should we rank next? Oh, BlazBlue Continuum Shift. So I ranked BlazBlue Calamity Trigger down here. Continuum Shift is obviously an improvement on Calamity Trigger. I think it's actually better than Star Ocean 4. When Continuum Shift first came out, it only had 3 extra characters over Calamity Trigger. But then over time, they added more characters in DLC, so actually the roster of this game is pretty big. And it's the last BlazBlue game that actually has individual story modes for each of the characters, because Chrono Phantasma just has one big story mode instead, because there's too many characters. But this is where BlazBlue starts to hit its stride. Great storytelling, great character personalities, lot of different gameplay mechanics. Again, though, BlazBlue is a very technical fighter game. It's hard to get good at it. But if you're just here for the story like I am and enjoying the characters, it's really good. What type of comments do I prefer on my YouTube? Like, I don't mind if they're constructive comments, but sometimes it's kind of like when people are just nitpicking on things for no reason, or a lot of people seem to comment on YouTube VODs as if they think they're live. Like, someone would comment, like, for example, on my VOD for I'm on observation duty, someone commented with a timestamp, like, at 20 minutes, you missed this item here. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, travel back in time 2 years and then find that item and go back to the game? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, do they not realize it's not live? Like, I don't get it. Or, for example, like, I would, like, play a game, right? And I'd be stuck on something, and then eventually I would figure it out in the same video. And then someone would reply and be like, you didn't do it right because you should have done this, even though whatever I did got me to the same result. Like, someone would be like, you should have used this character on your front line instead of in the back, because they're better in the front. And I'm like, okay, but I used them in the back and I still beat the level, so what's your point? Right? Like, the game is made for you to play it in more than one way sometimes, right? And some people seem to not understand that. Hey Helena, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. It's good to see you. So yeah, I think the very least I can ask for is if the YouTube comment at least has something to do with the video, would be kind of nice too. Sometimes I have people commenting where all they do is comment and just say hi, and that's it. I'm like, so what do I do? Do I say hi back? But it's a comment on a VOD, so what do I do with that? Or like, let's say like my videos on YouTube are usually queued, right? Like I'll queue it and be like, okay, this video will be published in 2 days at 9 a.m. or whatever, and it would publish, and then someone would comment and be like, good morning. And I'm like, but it's cute. It's like, I'm not sitting in front of the computer and just putting this out, and like they would comment within the first like minute of me posting it. So it's like they obviously didn't watch the video. So it's like, what, do you want me to reply good morning back to you? It's not the place for that. It's not a chat room sometimes. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. I just don't, it just confuses me more than anything else. Yeah, now you guys are gonna go all my videos and just write hi, right? Like it's just it doesn't hurt my feelings to see that. I just get very confused why those types of comments exist. It's just odd. Like it makes sense for you to go into my stream and say hi. It just doesn't make sense for you to go into a YouTube video and say hi. I don't know. Whatever. YouTube people are just strange. That's just what I kind of learned. Hey Ariakus, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Let's rate our next game. This one easy. Octopath Traveler 2 was a really good game too. Was it better than Spider-Man though? I think Octopath Traveler 2. It was really fun. The music was fantastic. I think the story had a lot of really good spots. The way it came together in the end wasn't the best, but it was better than Octopath 1. There were a lot of boss fights that did put me on edge though. So actually I might even, you know what? Octopath 2 I think deserves to be an S tier. Was it better than Umineko? I think the story of Octopath 2 does not compare to Umineko's. Octopath 2 has a lot of good storylines in it, but there's also like some that are not as good. Or like the way they converge at the end is not as ideal. But I think it's a very strong contender for up here. Yeah, like you got into Octopath Cycle Reaper and then you went and cosplayed Partitia, which was awesome. I think Octopath 2 is a very solid game. I think Octopath 1 still had its flaws, so I think this one makes more sense to put down here. I still really enjoyed it. I think it's a longer experience than Miles Morales, so I think it kept me enthralled for longer. The way the stories converge at the end was not as clean, and a couple of the character stories were not as good. Like, I didn't think Primrose's story was as good, but then, like, Alphen and, like, Therion had really good stories. So, and the gameplay is just really solid. Both Octopath 1 and Octopath 2 gave a lot of really good boss fights that, like, if you go into them without a strat, they were very challenging. But if you went into them with the strat, sometimes they became a little too easy. But it was more fun to go into them blind and figure out the strat yourself. And that was the fun. And also the way that you can set up your party and give them like sub jobs and stuff like that too was also really, really fun. I think the thing with Octopath 2 I still wish is that I wish that the characters all leveled up together. Because sometimes you get some characters that are way over leveled than others. And or like the story, like let's say my next story mission was level 30. And I didn't want to go into that mission too over leveled because it would make it too easy. But then I needed to level up certain characters to get them to that level, but as a result, my other character would overlevel in the process. So it was a little bit of a balancing act, and I wish they just let everyone level up uniformly. It would fix that problem right away. Okay, I think I feel pretty confident about that. Ghost Trick was actually a really good game as well. It really just feels like, I mean, obviously it's written by Ace Attorney people, and it was also like short. It had a nice compactness to it. It was the perfect length for a stream game. I think the puzzles were good, and then the characters were good. I think I have to put it above Octopath, but below Umineko. Like, Ghost Trick was really good, and the story was really good. I think it was very succinct, while Umineko is super long and has a lot of exposition. But the payoff is very well worth it in Umineko. While Ghost Trick is like, you know, it's a small little package. It's like a nice little... Ghost Trick is like if you want to go and have a nice lunch. And then Umineko is like a banquet for dinner. So I think Ghost Trick is a very good game. I almost thought that maybe I'd be putting it in A+, but I think it deserves a spot in the S tier. Resident Evil 4 was also a really good game. I think this one... this is tough. I think it's an A+. Now, is it better than Hades? I think Hades is a bit better, because Hades, I still got to customize my gameplay style, and Resident Evil 4, yeah, you can customize, but not as much. And again, like this was my first Resident Evil game I actually played, but I've watched playthroughs of all the other Resident Evil games, so I know what to compare it against. But 4, I think, is the pinnacle of a marriage between the action and the horror. Because like the early Resident Evil games are more horror, and then as time goes on, they become more action. But then past Resident Evil 4, they become too action. It's not scary. So I think this one was still a nice balance between the two, and the graphics were really nice too. And I actually like the gameplay mechanics quite well. I like the adaptive difficulty. I think was pretty cool. So I think I feel pretty confident putting it there. Some of these ones are kind of hard because a lot of these ones are the short horror games we played. So trying to like, a lot of them might end up in the special tier. We'll see. Granblue Fantasy versus Rising. We just finished this one. So it's a great fighting game. I think there's a lot to it for people. I think I have to put it on like an upper A. I know fighting games are not everyone's cup of tea, but like it just looks beautiful. The characters are fun, but again, if you don't play the gacha game, it's hard maybe to get attached to the characters because you don't know them as well. But it does a good job of introducing the characters to people who have not played. It's also pretty easy to play compared to a lot of fighting games. It's very beginner friendly. The base version of Granblue Fantasy Versus was not, but Rising makes it easier for people to get into. Story mode was fun. It introduces you to the characters, but it's not like, it didn't blow me away. But again, this game's still being updated and getting more characters in the future, so it could very well be elevated further in the future, I think. I think I feel comfortable leaving it as an A for now. Let's see here. Fire Emblem, Engage. Another long one that we played. Oh, Sophie, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Here, I'll put this down. Welcome, welcome. Oh, and CB, welcome both of you. Were you streaming together? Thank you so much for the double raid. I really appreciate it. Yeah, join us in following both Sophie and CB. We'll get you your shout out after the shout out goes off cooldown. I really, really appreciate it. Did you guys have a good time coming by? What were you playing with CB and Sophie? Oh, you were playing Pummel Party? That sounds fun. I've actually been eyeing that game. It looks like it'd be fun to play with a group of people sometime. I didn't realize it came out either. I remember seeing pictures of it before it came out. Yeah, please join us in following them. CB is also a very kind member of our community. You guys have seen him around. And Sophie, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it as well. That's awesome. I really appreciate all your support, guys. It was chaotic? Well, sometimes that's the best thing about them, right? So, if you guys don't know me, I'm Kiro, the frog-themed martial artist. We're currently tier listing all the games that I've ever streamed on stream, so we're getting closer to the end, but there's still a big chunk of them left to go. Thank you for coming by and trusting me with your audience. Feel free to stick around and relax with us or go take care of yourself after your stream, because I really appreciate it. Oh, yeah, while we're here in ranking, actually, I should do this one, too. Umineko Answers Arc goes above Umineko Questions Arc, but they're still in the same tier. You kind of need one for the other. But, yeah, that's an easy put. It looks like S tier is growing to be too large, but that's only because we split A and B into 3 sub-tiers. I was about to rank Fire Emblem. I think Fire Emblem Engage, it's not the pinnacle of the Fire Emblem series, but like the gameplay was actually really fun. The story was very like campy. It wasn't like super engaging, but the characters were fun and the battle system was solid. So I think it at least goes somewhere in here, but I don't really know where. I think I'm gonna put it here because story is still a big thing for me, and I don't think the story of it, obviously, it doesn't beat out FF7 or Persona 5 Strikers, but Shin Megami Tensei 5 doesn't really have much of a story, so I think this beats it out there. Gameplay, just very fun. I would just like to see a return to some of the other older Fire Emblem games in terms of style, but it was still pretty good. I know a lot of people had mixed feelings about Engage, and I did too at the beginning. Especially since at the beginning, I felt like you started off with a lot of the characters that were more boring, and the better characters came later in terms of personality. But once you get into it and you realize, oh, the mechanics are exactly the same but improved, it was just very much just another Fire Emblem experience. Where's the rest of my games? Oh, here. I scrolled down too far. Um. Okay. Let's. I think some of these are the short horror games that we played need to go into the special category, and let's figure out which ones those are. I think Death Come True is a quintessential example of that. It was basically an interactive movie. It had a lot of potential. It was kind of an experimental kind of thing. It was written by the same people who did Raincoat and Danganronpa. It was basically just a like horror movie with interactivity. It was on the shorter side, but it has the potential for more. I was actually talking to Kieran about this, but on Steam, there's actually like a category tag for FMV games, like full motion video games. And ever since I played Death Come True, I've been searching the tag for FMV games and adding some of them to my wish list just to keep an eye on them to see if there's any more experiences like this. And I think there's a few. It's basically like watching a movie together, except we have a little bit of interactivity. Because I know some people do like Discord movie nights, because you can't stream movies directly on Twitch and stuff like that too for copyright and stuff. But games like this you can. So it's basically like having a nice, movie watch time with you guys, and we can make some decisions. So I like what they did with this one. I think I'm gonna put it below Observation Duty because Observation Duty is still more of a game than Death Come True, but it was really fun, and I'd like to see more of that. Anything else that fits into this category? I think Sara's Missing fits into this category as well, because very short experience, like under an hour, but the idea of scrolling through a phone and trying to uncover a mystery and with horror game stuff happening is really cool. And of course, they take this idea further in the sequel games, Simulacra 2, and Simulacra 3. We might play those in the future because I do have them on Steam, but as an experimental thing, this was pretty cool as a format. Killer Frequency was really fun, actually. It was actually really fun. Great stream game, I think. The only problem with it is you can kind of really only play it once. Or twice, and then after that you kind of know everything. Is it an A+ or an A? I really like what they did, though, honestly. It was a really cool idea. I think I'm going to put it in an A+. So Killer Frequency is like it's like a horror game, but you play as like a radio host, and people phone in with their horror-related issues, and you have to guide them through these issues and see if they survive, which is such a novel idea. I think it's one of those things for like, if you want to play a horror game but you don't like horror games, this is a good like balance. Like, it's not scary enough that you're gonna break down crying, but you still really get connected to a lot of those characters, and the plot kind of draws you in. So I think but again, the drawback is once you play it once or twice, you can't really go back and keep playing it unless you forget everything that happened. So yeah, the VA work was really good. The voiceovers was really good. I want more games like this. I need more games like this. Let's see. Which one do I want to rate next? SOMA is still one of my favorite horror games. It's got that really nice atmosphere to it. It had a really good, like, the story, it wasn't like super complex, but the philosophical questions it poses were very fascinating. It is more of a traditional horror game. Like, you walk around, you pick up notes, you hide from monsters. So not like super innovative in that sense, but like there's something interesting to be had here in terms of story. But it is very like, walk from place to place, hide from monster, walk from place to place. So in terms of gameplay, it's not outstanding, but it's the story, especially the existential dread it leaves you with, that I think is its strength. So I think it still deserves, actually, if 999's here, I think SOMA deserves to be here. Yeah. Yeah, I think I feel good about that. maybe even below BlazBlue. But if you want to play like a traditional horror game that isn't too long, I think this is a really good one to play. Well, thanks for calling Kirpiaru. That being said, Layers of Fear, very similar in idea. I think I had to put Layers of Fear lower than Soma, though. Maybe even in a B+. And the reason why I say that is because Layers of Fear does a lot of really cool things. It does a lot of interesting transitions between rooms and graphics. Very PT-like. But the problem with it is that once you get used to the scares, it's not scary anymore. Once you get past like the first hour or two of the game, you kind of know what you're in for. And unfortunately, the game doesn't really change things up after that point. They don't change up the enemies, they don't change up the puzzles, but atmospherically, it's gorgeous and does a lot of really cool things. So I think Layers of Fear is down here. It's also unfortunate because, again, this game, Layers of Fear 2023, is a compilation of Layers of Fear 1 and 2 combined with new content. So they had the opportunity to go back and add new things, and they didn't really do that. Even the newer content is rehashed older content, which is a little bit disappointing. I think on that note, I think PT needs to go into the special tier because it is like a short, like little demo kind of thing. It revolutionized horror in a lot of ways. The scares are pretty good, but then the last section of the game, like the weird, like puzzle, I guess you can call it, especially since you need like a microphone or something if you want to do it easier, which I found out the hard way, does make it a little bit inaccessible. Plus the fact that you can't actually get this game legally anymore. And I was just fortunate that I still had a copy of this game saved on my PS4, but unless you play like the fan recreations of PT, it's not accessible anymore. But it did do a lot for the genre. So I think I feel right putting it down there. See, I'm getting down to the games that are harder to rank. Star Ocean 2. Star Ocean 2, I think, I said this before, but Star Ocean 2 is, I think, a better version of all the Star Ocean games. It has everything encapsulated in it that I think Star Ocean games should have. Multiple endings, lots of character customization, lots of characters to choose who to recruit from. The only downside is the story's kind of bland, but it's a remake, so I can't really blame them. They went really hard on the remake, though. Like, they went ham. So, big respect to that. Personally, I like Star Ocean 4 more than 2, only because I like the characters and the story and the setting more in 4. Plus, it's a 3D game, which means I like the battle system a bit more. Oh. Thanks for the chaos, CB. I appreciate it. I also think because Star Ocean 2, the boss fights are either really easy or really hard. The boss either one-shots you, or you just stun-lock the boss forever. So there's no mid-ground. At least the bosses in 4 were fun to do. So even though I think 2 has a lot of the mechanics that I think are best experienced in a Star Ocean game, I still think 4 slowly edges it out, just from my personal experience. So, but I think these are very close. It really depends on what your values are in terms of what you want from Star Ocean. I would love to see a new Star Ocean game that has everything from 4 and 6, but with the game mechanics of 2. I think that would be the perfect combination, but they're not doing that. So, and I doubt they will do it. Super Mario RPG was actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it more than BlazBlue and 999? Definitely more than Star Ocean. There's a lot of content in this game, and they added the new boss challenges, which were actually really challenging and fun. The Mario RPG games are really charming, and the battle systems are fun, but they're not super character-driven, because the characters are very, like, you know, one-dimensional, but they were cute. I like Gino, and Mallow grew on me as well. When we play Paper Mario, I think those games will go into the A tier, because I think Paper Mario games are better than Super Mario RPG, but Super Mario RPG really paved the way for Paper Mario. And I plan to be playing Paper Mario 1 sometime in the near future because we need to do it before Paper Mario 2 Remaster comes out as well. I also want to play Mario Luigi Superstar Saga on stream, and I think that'll be better than Super Mario RPG. I just don't know where it fits into this equation. I think I'm going to leave it here. I think I feel good with that. Alice Madness Returns is also a really fun game. Atmospherically, artistically, very cool. Not that much replayability once you find everything, but the stuff that you do have is cool. I wish it had real boss fights. That's my only real concern about this game, is I wish it had real boss fights. Artistically, though, really good. I have the art book for this game, and it's gorgeous. I think I have to put it here. It's better than Star Ocean 6, but I'd rather play Star Ocean 4 or 3. Also, the Steam version of this game seems to have a lot of technical issues of crashing, which was very unfortunate for me, and very difficult to tab out of without the game like freezing up or anything like that. And I think that's a Steam issue. The game also implies that the DLC is available in it, and it's not. And even if you like go in and edit the game files to get access to some of that DLC, sometimes it messes stuff up. So that's a little bit unfortunate. A lot of these ones, again, are hard ones to rank. To the Moon, very, very good story. I think To the Moon, the story, I think puts it up with like 999. Not because of its complexity, but because of its character-driven nature. And I'm excited to go and play the other games on stream with Kieran in the future, the sequels. But like as an RPG that doesn't have combat in it, completely character-driven, not even like portraits for the characters, they do a good job of making you really feel attached to everyone. And the music was very beautiful in that one as well. I don't think it quite elevates itself to being an A rank, but it is up there, I think. It's crazy how old To the Moon is actually as well. I don't really consider that as well. It is an older game. Yeah, but I don't think it quite goes up to the A rank. If I'm just like taking a glance at all these A rank games, I don't think it quite gets up there, but it is on its way. Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, I think, also belongs in the special tier, because this is like an April Fool's game they released. The art is actually really nice, and there's actually, I thought it was just gonna be a visual novel, but there's actually platforming in it. Like, they went all out, and the music's really good too. But it is just a one day like April Fool's kind of like experience, unless you're a Sonic fan, which in that case I think you get a bigger blast out of this than I did. But it's just a fun little thing. Aviary Attorney was also fun, unexpectedly good, but I don't think I can really justify putting it higher than an A minus, maybe even a B plus. Very interesting art style. Of course, they take the classical drawings and animate them, bring them to life. Surprisingly, a lot of twists and turns, just on the merit of the fact that you don't know what to expect. You think it's like an Ace Attorney clone, and then they throw in a couple actual, like, cool things that actually make you think and say, hey, that'd be an actual real cool thing to put in an Ace Attorney game that they didn't really do. So I think on the merit of what it is, I think it's actually, I might even, you know what, I might even feel like I relegate it to a B plus. Piero was a cool character. Oh, you never heard of Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog? It's not a horror game. This came out on April Fool's, last April Fool's actually. It's like a visual novel where like they're all on a train, and then Sonic gets murdered, and then you got to figure out who did it. And then there's like some platforming sections. It's pretty cool actually. Oh right, there's also Nathan, the character, the horse. Yeah, you know what? I feel good bumping up Aviary Attorney to A minus. A lot of these leftover games I think will end up there as well. World of Horror. This game was not what I expected it to be. But once you figure out what it is, it's good for what it tries to be. But if you're expecting it to be something different, then you're in for something. I think it goes here. Oops. I think it goes here. Like the art style is really cool. I went into it thinking it'd be a cool like point and click horror game, but it wasn't. It was like horror game D&D, which I was not expecting. I wish the game did a better job of explaining how to play it. A lot of it I had to kind of figure out on my own. And once you figure it out, it's not really scary. And actually, it's not really scary at all, other than the imagery. Once you kind of figure out what you're doing, it becomes a lot easier. So thanks for the chaos, Luke. Yeah, I just built everything in the strength and then punched my way through everything. Also, RNG could really like screw you over in that game, but that's kind of part of the fun of it. So I think for what it's trying to do, it's good. But if you go into it without knowing what to expect, then you'll be disappointed. My first time playing the game, I was a bit disappointed because it was not what I thought. But yeah, so thanks for the fun frog facts. Frogs make great biological indicators of their environment because their skin usually helps them like absorb things from the environment, and they live in both water and on land. So a lot of times scientists will use frogs to help them monitor the environment in an area and see how the health of the ecosystem is doing. So it's really neat. Thanks so much for the fun frog fact. Frogs are very useful. Frogs are your friends. Oh my gosh, yes, the status ailments in World of Horror. It's like, oh, I got burned. Well, that's gonna suck for the rest of the playthrough. Or, oh, I lost my pinky finger. That's gonna be horrible. Like, and sometimes out of nowhere. I think didn't I like reach into a vending machine and then I got like a rash on my torso or something like that? Like, and again, you can't really logic your way out of like decisions you need to make in the game because every decision is just based on a stat roll that they don't tell you about, which is kind of weird. But artistically, I think it was very good. Hey, Cat Magician, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by today. It's good to see you. Observation was an interesting game. It's got a fascinating story to it. I think that almost puts it near SOMA. It's got a fascinating story to it. Grips you, lots of suspense. The gameplay is a little bit annoying because it's puzzles, and the puzzles are usually good, but they give you no instructions on how to do them. So the part of the puzzle is figuring out how to do the puzzle. So some of the puzzles are easier than others, or some of them are more straightforward. And sometimes I wish they gave you a little bit more instruction. But again, it is a very good like story game, I think. It is just I can't really explain Observation without you playing Observation. It is quite fascinating. On a similar note, Stories Untold also had very interesting stories. The gameplay in this one, I think, was they were going for something new and interesting. So I kind of think it goes here. It's not quite as good as Observation and SOMA. The story at the end doesn't really leave you in as much shock, but it is very atmospheric and it leaves you wanting more. I feel comfortable putting that there, actually. Yeah. We'll like shuffle things around at the end just in case. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter also had a really good story, but at the end of the day, it was just a walking simulator. I think I actually really liked the story in Vanishing of Ethan Carter, but I think it goes more in a B+ tier. In fact, I might even bump down Aviary Attorney. You know what? No, I think Aviary Attorney deserves its spot there. Vanishing of Ethan Carter has an interesting story. I think the ending was cool. The graphics are beautiful. It is another game that once you play it once and you know what to expect, it kind of loses its magic. What Remains of Edith Finch, I think, is similar to Vanishing of Ethan Carter. It's not really as horror-like, but at least this one had different types of minigames to play that varied up the gameplay and made the story a little bit more interesting. So I think this one kind of goes here. Edith Finch was such an interesting playthrough. Faith was actually really fun. Some of the boss fights were a little bit unfair, I think. I think it's better than Soma because of the scares, I think, were better because of the weird retro style, I think. And there's actually a lot more to this game. We might go back to it one day and do some of the new modes they added to this game, like they added the survival mode and stuff like that too. I also looked at the wiki for this game. There's so much hidden lore. You can play this game over and over and over again and still discover new things. But it is a shorter experience. And again, the boss fights were kind of unfair. So I think this one will stay here. No, I did not let Father Garcia die. Father Garcia let Father Garcia die. I think he survived in the end, though. I think I let him die multiple times, but he survived on the final playthrough when I finally beat the boss. But yeah, that was kind of that was a tough one. Rock of Ages is such a delightfully fun game. Rock of Ages 1 is a little hard to play. Rock of Ages 2 is a much better play. And I still need to go back and play Rock of Ages 3. I think I could very comfortably put Rock of Ages up here. Actually, better than Stories Untold. I think it goes here. It's just such a silly, fun game. And you can go and play multiplayer with your friends if anyone you know actually owns this game. The problem is no one is ever online, but yeah, the music's really fun. It's a very delightful game. So Rock of Ages 1 is not as polished. I think it's going to be down here. Maybe even here. Maybe even here. Also, this game is kind of hard to get working on Steam. Like, I played Rock of Ages 2 on my Switch. I think it's also available on PlayStation. Rock of Ages 1 is only available on Steam, and if you download it, it will not open unless you go back and do some back-end modification of your files. I actually had to look up a couple guides because apparently one of the drivers or something, you have to revert to an older version to make it run, because if you have a new version of the driver, then it's incompatible with the game. So it was a little bit of work to get it working. I don't want to hold it against that game, but that is still something that happened. And the boss fights in this one were not as fun as Rock of Ages 2. But it's a solid game. It still does what it's meant to do. Monster Prom is also really fun. I love the humor in Monster Prom. And there's a lot of stuff to do in Monster Prom. So I think I actually want to put it here. I think I could go back and keep playing Monster Prom more than I could go back and keep replaying Faith. And Monster Camp, I think, is good too, but Monster Prom, I think, had more characters that I was interested in learning about compared to Monster Camp. Monster Prom also has like the DLCs, so it has like more extra content and more secret endings. So I think I'm gonna put Monster Prom ahead of Monster Camp. We still need to go by and play Monster Road Trip, which we will do in the future. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. I think that one's gonna be better than both of these. Yeah, I got my ending with Damien where we went to the prom and then we just started beating each other up, and then we went to the washroom and just had a fist fight. It was great. It was great. Those are just delightful games. It totally has my sense of humor, although maybe a little bit on the sexual side. My type of humor is not quite like that, but it definitely has a lot of that stuff in it. Okay, we're almost there. These are going to be hard. Inside. I like the story of Inside a lot. But it is another game, again, where you play it once and you don't really, what do you do when you go back, right? I think I had to put it somewhere. I think it's above Stories Untold. Actually, no. I mean, the puzzles in Inside were really good as well. I think... Does it put it ahead of Alice? Maybe not. There were some frustrating moments in here. We have to time something specifically with the water girl enemy. But it was still a good game because like the ending is just such a good payoff. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. CARRION was also a fun game. But where does it fit here? I don't think it's quite as good as Inside. I think it goes here. Yeah, because I think the story of CARRION wasn't on as compelling, but the gameplay was fun. But it was easy. It was very easy to get lost and not know where your next objective was. I think that's the biggest drawback. Now, looking at all these games, now that we've sorted everything, 3 years worth of games, I think I need to do a little bit of shuffling around here. I'm still pretty confident with these S tier games. And there's still some games I want to stream that I have not gotten to streaming that I know would be S tier games, like games that I've played before and really enjoyed. I'm pretty happy with the A+ tier. I think these all deserve a place up there. A tier is pretty good too. Actually, I think CARRION and everything past it might work better as a B+. I think because they're not really quite in the same tier, I think. And that includes Star Ocean 6. Maybe. Again, Star Ocean 6 was still very playable, though. It is a full game. But CARRION was fun, like just going around and like being the monster, I think is such a cool concept. And seeing like the animations for that thing was pretty cool. But I think the difference between an A- game and a B+ game is like the A- games, in some way, shape, or form, left me really wanting to come back for more or on the edge of my seat from some story reveal. While these like B+ games, I don't really see myself going back and playing them, like, not to say willingly, but like without a really good reason, I think. I also don't think that Star Ocean 6 deserves to be on the same tier as 4 and 2. It's closer, but it doesn't deserve to be quite up there. I think B tier, I think that's pretty fair. I think people are going to be mad about Star Ocean 3, but again, I think if you've only played Star Ocean 3 back in the 2000s, your memory of it does not match up with what it is today. You need to go back and play this game again, the remastered version, and realize that the battle system does not live up. I'm pretty confident about these three, though. Like, I'm pretty set in Xenoblade 2, Rune Factory, and Raincoat being down here. But again, like, they were still kind of fun to stream, at least if not to meme on them. But I'm still, like, if they ever release a Raincoat 2, I'm very hesitant to go back into that series. Yeah, there's nothing else in this tier here, unfortunately. Like, I think 100% think that Xenoblade 1 and 2 need a degree of separation. Yeah, and I don't think Rune Factory 5 deserves to be ranked up. But again, I think the biggest thing about C tier is that not that they're like awful games that you can't play, it's that they have a lot of potential that we just didn't realize. I think that's what the biggest thing was for those ones. Well, Xenoblade 2, I didn't really have special like expectations going into it based on my experience of Xenoblade 1. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Let's zoom out. It's really big now. There's our final tier list. So I plan to make this like a yearly thing. At the end of every year, we'll go and we'll add to this tier list ranking with all the games we played over that year and kind of see how they measured up. So I'll just keep this tier list saved, and then we'll revisit it every other December, or every December, not every other December. It'll be kind of interesting to see, and maybe if we ever go back and revisit some of these games, my opinion might change. Like, for example, like Tales of Arise, we went back and did the DLC for it 2 years later, and that kind of altered my opinion of it in terms of how well I feel like it left off its story, right? And, like, for example, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming up, and that might change my outlook towards both of the games of Final Fantasy VII. So we'll see. Now, going forward for the next year, there's still a lot of games that I want to play. There's a lot of games that are yet to be released that I'm looking forward to. But I might be a little bit more experimental with things that I do on stream as well. In addition to games and Let's Plays, like I want to do more chatting stuff. Maybe we'll do more tier lists. You guys gave me other great ideas for tier lists, so I might do some of those in the future as well as part of your Thankmas incentives. So maybe we'll do another chatting stream about this topic in the future, or I'll release a video on YouTube about this. But there are some changes to the channel that I've been thinking about for the next year. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure you guys will be on board with all of them, but I don't know. Me as a person that's very critical of myself and always trying to think of new things or trying to, you know, come up with things on my own and also like work up my own self-confidence in the way I do things. Sometimes it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but I'm really glad that you guys are here with me for that. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining me here on stream today. Thank you so much for watching me just talk about games for like almost 3 hours, I guess. I'll probably split this VOD into 3 parts, one for each year, 2021, 2022, and 2023, just to kind of see where things go from here and keep track of things as well. And as we approach the end of the year, we'll also do our year in review, looking back on the past year in general, besides just the games, but just in general, what we've been doing, and things for the future. Please look forward to it. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, you guys are gonna flood my comments with just hi comments, aren't you? That's okay. I'll still love you guys. Let's find someone to raid. I bet. Yep. Kieran's still streaming. He's streaming Arc Rise Fantasia, which is a Wii game. It's a Wii RPG game that both him and we like it, but it's an old game, and also it's notorious for its bad voice acting. But it's like a hidden gem, and one day I probably want to stream it as well. So let's take a drop in on Kieran, and I'll see you guys probably Monday. I haven't posted my schedule for the next week yet, but probably Monday. I think I'm going to be playing more Granblue versus Rising this week because I want to get better and do some arcade runs. But there's also a couple other games or a couple of game continuations I want to slip in before the end of the year. Nothing that will add to this tier list. Not any completely new games, but just going back and replaying certain sections of some games that we've done in the past. Yeah, thank you everyone. And again, if you want to watch any of these games, if you're interested, all my VODs are up on YouTube. So if you see a game here that you're like, oh, I'm interested in that, or I've never heard of that before, go check it out, and maybe you will find something that you like there. You can see there's a lot of variety in genres here. Everything from RPGs to horror games, mystery games, fighting games, puzzle games, you name it. All right, let's go raid Kieran. See you guys later. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.